best part about this is it's only my voice that's going to come through on this. So you can distract me all you want, baby. That's going to be fun listening to it like in the next, in 10 minutes. This year, I've been doing 3 projects. I've named them on this card I have in front of me. Tiny Scamp, Party is Dead, and Tom Thumb. So for the first semester, we were being taught newer ways to draw. These are all new to me because the last 3 years I've sort of been doing an animation course and we didn't really have any lessons and art lessons. And if we did, I'd have learned those in primary school. We were taught 1 point perspective, but only one way to draw one thing in 1 point, so they didn't really explain anything. We had 3 characters we were supposed to make, to which I named them Wendell, Mercer, and Harvey. Now the inspiration behind the names were Mercer means merchant, Wendell means traveler, and Harvey is the name of an orange and vodka cocktail. So for the end of this project, create an environment, characters to move in that environment, show dynamic poses, show the environment more, show lighting if we decided to do color theory, implement that some way. Here's one single example of how I used it. For the second semester, we had some scripts we could choose from. I chose one called The Party is Dead because I like drawing skeletons. It's Brooke. So with this script, we had to make the environment, we had to make the props, we had to make the characters, and then in most of them, I believe most of them, I only really focused on mine, there's a crowd. My main character in that short is a lady. I don't know how to draw ladies, so whenever I did, they're very broad-shouldered, they have either very large or very tiny hands. So when going into the environments, I do what I always do, rely on 3D, because I like it, it's good, it makes sense. I firmly believe, in some respect, some small regard, that if you understand the navigational tools of 3D, you can just use it like sketching, especially if you're making a room, and I like making rooms, as evidenced by this. So I think the main point of that project was page design. So I could, get away with my intense research into all the comics and manga that I own, mainly Tokyo Ghoul because I like the page design because it's not always linear, it kind of diagonal sometimes. But we like that. I like that quite a bit. Here's sort of the product of what I was doing for that project. As we can see, most of it is 3D. We've got some examples of the, I don't even know what to call this. I still don't know what to call the technique, but I've seen it around and I'm trying it myself. So with Party is Dead, I designed a room in 3D, I messed with the lighting a bunch, that was fun, but the rest of it was a bit time consuming. In the end, it did help quite a bit because I could better visualize the scenes and angles that I'd be drawing from, because this is a silent comic. My main issue though with the project was drawing the lady because I'm very much not used to doing that, but I'd sort of got through it by just doing it. I would still say the most fun of the comic was drawing the skeletons because I studied it a bit and drawing skeletons is a lot of fun. As we can see, I have tried some of this bleaching method. I have been calling it a bleaching method. It probably shouldn't be called that, but that's what I've been calling it. So it's my bleaching method. What you would do, I should explain how you do it. You up the sharpness on the image, which sort of brings out the lines on it, brings out the edges. And then in Photoshop, you go into image, adjustments, threshold, and then you just mess around. So it can be great with photography. It's quite fun experimenting with it outdoors. Here are some examples of that. I enjoyed playing around with this. When making the comic, I wanted to take reference from something that I found, a comic that I found. I actually bought a poster, but when it came, turns out it was just the second issue of a comic series. So I still got the poster, it was just the cover of the thing. And I believe the comic is called Harrower. Ah, yeah, there it is. It's called Harrower. It's good. It is a bit harrowing. The reference I was taking from this was using similar colors of different shades, but then just keeping to those. My way of going about it is I just took tan colors and I used those. They're very pale because I like pale colors. So I stuck from black, tan, and white. I used those. This is the result. Page 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is what I have. Now for this third project, the group project, the one we've just done, and I believe is the focus of the video, I'm going to show you what I've been doing. So, I've been taking references from games, such as No Man's Sky for its terrain generation, Little Nightmares for its big little, which is a thing that I can say. You've got the tiny character in a large world, happens to be a submarine, around larger people, although they're more grotesque. I think we've still done that. I wasn't on character design, but I still decided to draw a character because I wanted to make this cool concept thing because I had a little spark of creativity, so I made this. Here's a reference from when I was in Jersey with my friend. He is also here. You can't hear him. We sat on that. It was cool. It was very cool. It was overlooking a cliff. It was very cool. My uncle was with us. He was very scared. Moving on. So in most 2D platformer games, you'd have for the background a sort of panoramic effect so that you can move around. I mean, here's an example of how I did mine. I drew this. It gives me ideas. So I had it pan, and then these borders on the side, you see, they were made by someone else. They did a great job. I mean, there are even better ones after this that I'm not going to show because it's not my work, but everyone else did a good job. As a group, we sort of decided that my style kind of fits what we're going for quite well. I mean, I'd kind of liken what I've been doing here to similar to some of the One Piece art style, which really isn't saying much. I mean, if you get a few wood textures, some stone textures down, it sort of just makes sense. It's quite simple. I like it, and it's quite simple. So I did a bit of 3D for this project. I experimented with terrain generation. I watched a video on how to better make it, and that was helpful. You can make custom terrain pretty easily just from a flat plane. I wanted to create a kind of depth of field effects. If I have the 3D design that I made in the background, I could just leave that there, blur it in parts to make the bit at the back look further away than what's in the foreground. After doing that, I just sort of placed it there and drew over it. Having grass in different layers, in front and behind the character, gives it a better bit of field effect, and as they move across the scene, it feels more immersive. I also have some sketches that I made. Here are thems. Now on to future plans. Fun. Over the summer, we're going to take it in turns. We've got summer, and we've got next year, level 5, which I hope to God I actually get into, because I'm doing work, I promise. Now, there's this comic called The Weekly Roll. I'd say it's D&D based. They go around doing things, getting money, burning down villages, wearing a cool bucket helmet. It's cool. I like it. It's 4 panels long and it's made weekly. I want to do this. So I'm going to, hopefully. I also want to do a painting. Here's an example of the level I'm at the minute. I like the skin. Bit of a hentai protagonist, but I like the skin. There are other examples of things that I've done over time that I enjoy, and it's mostly silly. Here's one that I call Flacken Leaf Jazz. I didn't mess up, that's what I called it. I'm not going to show all of it, but it's mainly my friend Falcon talking about how he found a bench. There's a leaf across from it. It's cool, it's funny.
So much foliage, it's amazing.
And I find that really funny, so much foliage. But that's the plan for my summer. That's what I want to do. That's what I hope I do. I'm also working for money at a pub, so if I die of starvation, it's because I haven't been able to pay rent. Or I have, and I just don't have enough for food. But you know, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. But that's the plan for the summer. For next year, I've got slightly less concrete, but more general, vague. Just these plans make sense. I want to get better. That's my main thought. I want to get better. Any idea about what I want to get better? Yes, mainly line art. I like using inks. I like dip inks. I want to figure out how to use brushes in my inking. When we think about inking, when I do at least, I think about DC, Jim Lee, Dan Mora, David Finch, a little bit of Capullo if you really want it. I like inking, and what I want to do is do inking on A3. It'll take forever and my patience runs dry when I try to do that, but I will do it eventually, and I hope I do. Here's an example of something I did ages ago. Here's an example of something I did more recently. I want to get better at that. I will be doing a lot more anatomy. My aunt is the only other artist in my family, and she is someone who is adamant that I draw naked old people. And what she actually means is that I should be doing more life drawing. I want to. But for now, I'm sticking to the YouTube videos, you know, the 1-minute ones, the 30-second ones. They're useful, they're helpful. I like sticking to those. Why won't the video stop recording?